Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hot mics, hot mics.
Light them up.
We're on.
Light them up.
All right. It is 7 o'clock. Entertain a motion to open the meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right. Town of Groveland, welcome. Planning Board meeting on Tuesday, May 19th, 2026, 7 PM at Town Hall. Tonight's agenda, we have a public hearing. We could discuss for a special permit request, and then we just, it's pretty light after that. Minutes and some updates on some correspondence. So we'll get it going. Entertain a motion to open up public hearing for PB 202602 special permit request for a parking reduction and inclusion of affordable housing, 1 Elm Park. John Guilfoyle, owner of FKG Properties LLC, applicant tax map 10, parcel 39, B business zone. Applicant proposes adding 4 dwelling units on the 3rd floor of 1 Elm Park and seeks 2 special permits, one to reduce the required parking by 1 space under Chapter 50-9.4, and a second to include 1 affordable dwelling unit under 50-10.1 of the Town of Groveland's bylaw, while also seeking a waiver from site plan review.
So motion.
So moved. All those in favor to open up public hearing?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. All right, we're here. Mr. Guilfoyle is here. We'll open it up to you first. How are you tonight?
I'm well, how are you?
Good,
to
thank
see
you.
all again.
Yes.
Exactly 6 months ago. Do I have to push the button on this?
Make sure it's green, yes, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So again, John Guilfoyle, 5 Katy Lane. I was last here 6 months ago and met with this group to talk about our plans for the Elm Park building at 1 Elm Park. At that time, our focus was heavily on the first floor, and we had done a lot of work in getting that first floor safe, modern to code, and functional. It had been used consistently for nearly a century, and we spent a lot of time, a lot of care, and a lot of creativity in bringing that first floor back online. I can report to you today that with the exception of one more piece of railing that has to get tightened up on the handicap ramp, we are done with that project. And that has resulted in the addition of the first ever ADA accessible units and the first ADA accessible of anything in that building. We now have 2 completely ADA accessible commercial units and an ADA accessible dwelling unit, 1 bedroom on the first floor. As we've gone about this process, the 3rd floor has always been a question mark. Now, as you may know, the entire building was once commercial. There was old photos of a barber shop on the 2nd floor with the rags and the towels and all that. But the 2nd floor has been residential for decades. As far back as I can find, it's been apartment units on the 2nd floor. The 3rd floor officially to today remains commercial. So what you have is a building that is commercial, residential, commercial, but with different entrances. So to get to the 3rd floor spaces, you have to walk past all the residential units on the 2nd floor. So you have to go in the stairs, go past everyone's doors, and go up to the 3rd floor. There's no other way to do that. The building can never sustain an elevator with any degree of economic feasibility, and there are individual stairs in the middle of each hallway. It was built 100 years ago. There was no thought about handicap accessibility back then. Elevator would not work. It'd be too expensive, and you have to re-engineer the entire 2nd floor and kick everyone out of their homes during that process. So it just would not work. In looking at the 3rd floor, what we have right now is a first floor unit 1A, the old diner, that is a finished, modern, a little bit industrial style office space that my company, the JGPR, would propose to move down to the 1st floor unit. It's the exact same footprint we take up now from the 3rd floor down to the 1st floor. We are the only 3rd floor commercial tenant that has been in that building since the Banner factory. There's been no other commercial tenants in that building for at least 40 years that we could find. The other side of that, though, is the part we're going to really talk about today. So JGPR is currently on half of the 3rd floor. The other half of the 3rd floor we officially use as storage, but it is the old dance hall. There's the remains of a stage there. There was a bunch of wood-burning stove that was standing right there. And it's nice and over-engineered, which is helpful, but it was a dance hall that has never really been used for anything else except for storage, and it's sort of fallen into a state of disrepair over the last 5 or 6 decades after that. But what we do have are 20-plus foot ceilings on that second floor. And the moment I laid eyes on the building, I saw the chance to do something with that did not involve exterior construction. So what we're here to propose to you today, after many iterations, many questions, many drawings, and many sort of considerations, is the Elm Park lofts. And what we're proposing is Groveland's first ever loft development. It would require no shovels in the ground, no new square footage, no development of any open space whatsoever. In fact, the building itself will look identical when it's done. The only exterior change that will happen will be replacement windows. Those old metal windows that are drafty and they're sort of old. We're going to put vinyl in there and make them energy efficient. But the grids will be the same. It'll be the same look. We have quotes from 3 vendors already that can make identical looking windows. So the building itself will look identical. Nobody will know anything's changed except the people living, hopefully, inside there. What Mr. DiBiazzo has drawn for us are 3 one-bedroom loft apartments with a traditional mezzanine. You have enough height to use it, and that's the only way to actually efficiently use that ceiling height without actually building a 4th floor, which we're not going to do, obviously. The drawing we have here creates 3 individual entry with the 2 staircases to get out, loft apartments. And it would convert the existing JGPR office into a 2-bedroom kind of penthouse. We would not build a mezzanine on that. It's got a finished ceiling and brand new HVAC. It's not feasible to do that. It's about a 14-foot ceiling now. So it'll be a beautiful 8-windowed apartment with ideally 2 bedrooms. All that would need to be done would be a couple of walls, an island with an oven where our kitchenette currently is, and a shower in the bathroom. And of course, I make it sound nice and easy, and someone's got to actually do that. But it's square footage that already exists that will be moved downstairs. What's relevant for our purposes today is that if we were to use the 3rd floor as commercial space, we do not have parking relief or a permit for parking for the stage space right now. That's half the 3rd floor. So by Groveland bylaw, we'd be coming to you for 6 more parking spaces today if I had a business that wanted to go in to the 3rd floor dance hall space. 1 space per 300 square feet. It's 1 space per bedroom for residential, which is considerably less for our purposes. In doing all the math and going back and forth with John, Mr. Sullivan, we have come up that the parking that we have on site and the relief that you gave us in the fall puts us 0.77 parking spaces short of this project. So we're here to you today to ask you for 1 additional parking space of relief, with the caveat being that based on our work that we've done, that we've shown you already, we have sufficient parking on site for the residents and the prospective residents. So we have more than 1 parking space in our lot, our driveway, and our delineated spaces on property for all of the bedrooms. We already have a special permit for most of the commercial use. So really this permit, while it would allow this to go forward, would really be to allow one of the commercial employees to legally park in public parking, water department, median, or Main Street. But we would have a parking space for every bedroom of this building on site. So residents would park off-street, employees, potential clients, business people would park in the water department, the median, or in front of the building on Main Street. It's a long time coming. I think we're 5 years into owning this building. We've been occupying it for almost 2 years now. Everyone loves it. Everyone loves coming into work. We're going to love it a lot more when we don't have to go up the 3 staircases to get to our location, obviously. If we can go forward with this project, it'll have 2 functioning businesses on the 1st floor, and the building will be full for the first time in 60 years. And it has not been since the diner moved out in 2018 that there's been a business functioning in 1A, the diner space. So we have a chance here to really take a building that was and should be one of the focal points of downtown life. We've got a lot of nice buildings, a lot of nice businesses in downtown Groveland. We're going to hopefully put 4 or 5 more people living in downtown Groveland, and we create new units of housing without adding a single square foot of development to any land in Groveland. I'll take your questions.
Are you going to serve lunch on the 1st floor?
We have a assortment of seltzer waters available, and the staff keeps a giant jar of candy, so, Walt, you come on in.
All right.
We'll hook you up.
So you're not gonna need 2, 4, 6, 7, or 8 spaces?
So, the spaces that you've already allocated to us in the current special permit gives us nearly enough. We need that, again, 0.7 is what we're short on this project.
I thought I heard you say 1 space per unit.
We currently have 14 parking spaces in the building. We will need 11 11 or 12 for each of the bedrooms that would exist with this 4-unit addition. So we would actually still have a couple of parking spaces left unused, likely either for, if there's a couple living in a 1-bedroom, if there's a second car, or maybe I get a parking space when it's all said and done, we'll see. But we have enough parking for all the residents required by law. We'll have a couple left over. If we had to take the stage space and do a build-out, right now, it would need a complete build-out. It's in a bad state. It's old. It's got original paneling, the wood's drooping from the stage. It's structurally great, cosmetically terrible. It was a dance hall in the 1950s that hasn't been used since then. If we were to do a build-out and make that into offices, we'd be coming to you asking for 6 more spots. For residences, it's considerably less, and we're asking for 1.
I included the parking calculations in your packet, if that helps.
Was it part of the whole economic development to develop more businesses in Elm Park too? Isn't this counterintuitive to what you guys are planning?
I mean, I wouldn't consider it counterintuitive because he's putting a business there. That,
Well, it's not an additional business.
but not additional business. He's, yeah,
Right.
yeah. JPR will be the business in that building. Right?
And it would foreclose the possibility for additional
Right, right.
businesses.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but when
you
we
have a
began last year, we had 0 businesses. We began this year, we
understood.
had 0 businesses, and that we have 2 now. We have the West Newbury Learning Center folks that moved in April. They've been great. As projected, they're doing efficient drop-off and pickup. No problems that I've seen. I'm there obviously every day. JGPR is there. So we go from a building that had no business and no business prospects the way it was to 2 functioning businesses. And then we believe the apartments are good for the town at the end of the day. It puts people living in downtown. Every town I've gone to in New England, when you put more housing downtown, I think good things happen. Whether you're in Dover, Rochester, Newburyport, those tend to lend themselves to good things. We have a parcel across from us that I'm waiting to see what happens with the old gas station eventually. People living there is a good thing for future development for that side of Elm Park as well.
Learning center is in and
In.
functioning.
In, functioning, they are getting their kids dropped off and picked up with no problems reported by the tenant. They've been a great tenant to have. It's a beautiful space for them in there. They've decorated it. I built them a little storage unit in the basement. They're happy. Their building got sold. It just went under agreement. So they've had nowhere to go. Now they moved from West Newbury to Groveland. So I'm happy about that one.
Awesome.
Yeah. All love to West Newbury, but we took one
Yeah.
from them. So.
For sure.
I have not noticed any type of issues with driving through there every morning, doing drop-off of school and stuff like that. I've never even noticed anything.
Yeah.
Right. Which I wasn't sure with drop-off and pick-up, and I know the nightmare.
You wanna open it up for public comment?
Yeah, I was gonna, unless you guys have, we can call Mr. Guilfoyle back up if need be after, but do you guys have any questions before we let him go for now?
I
Anyone?
think for now I'm good.
No? Okay, good for now? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, open it up for public comment, and as
Do we
you,
need a vote-
as
do we
you
need a
may
vote
know.
For that, or is that
Nope.
just good?
No, just open it up, and as you know,
How you doing?
state your name,
John Branning.
address,
So,
Address
Mill
as well.
Street Extension.
thank you.
At the last meeting, when you got the first permit 6 months ago, you guys didn't count the 3rd floor, so we actually needed 6 more spaces on top of what you already gave for a reduction. The other thing is now that the ramp is in the back, I'd say you can probably park 3 safely in there, 2 along the building?
We have one at the curb next to the salon, 3 along the back, and then, 2 in the
Yeah,
driveway.
so they basically have 12 spaces when they needed 29. to start with, you know, before. I did call John and let him know that that was something that was overseen at your last meeting. You know, I've seen the preschool pick up, you know, they're going too wide, not a big deal. I mean, they've got the space on the inside. The tenants we have in the Elm Park building are constantly emailing me and calling me that there's no place for their people to park. I keep telling them I'm not a parking lot attendant. But at any rate, you know, I'm just curious, I did ask the question the last time when you were giving use of the public parking lot, you know, and you had to change the bylaw because I pointed out that it didn't count. I saw that took place. Did you do a survey of the parking spaces that you've given up? I know in your bylaw it says that you have to have a qualified Commonwealth of Massachusetts engineer do a plan. Have you done that?
We did a plan like years ago of Elm Park development, parking spaces off parking.
Right, but you weren't giving away those parking spaces before.
Correct.
Yeah, I saw that other plan. It was very inaccurate. You know,
Although
it
was
said
done
there was
by an outside
135
consultant.
parking spaces downtown. There's 9. You know, I mean,
They were counting the water department, they were counting,
right. But it
Various
turned out that that didn't fit your bylaw. So what they said was actually wrong. You know, they were counting the church up the street. That wasn't within the footage, you know, and everything else that was in that plan, it wasn't even accurate. I'm sure you know that. But at any rate, is there?
But public parking is part of it now. That,
That-
it
the
did, at the time,
1,500
it
feet,
did
yeah,
not.
yeah,
But now
yeah.
it
Yeah,
does.
that bylaw's been amended.
Right. No, I know. I know. If I didn't point it out, it wouldn't have been. But, you know, I'm just curious. You know, I asked before, you're just telling everybody, the Mexican restaurant and everybody else, and, you know, I mean, I know several times going there, there's usually one spot I can find in the square to get into. But they were parking 2 ways on the backside of Elm Park. That's a 2-way street. So they can't use that as parking either. That plan also showed parking
on both
on the other side of Elm Park. So, you know, I'm just, you know, you're gonna kill all these other businesses if you keep giving away these spaces. I agree that, you know, it'd be better to have the residential there, but actually you are adding square footage if you're putting a mezzanine in. So, you know, I mean, there's other situations. I know they used to play basketball on the 3rd floor there, back in the day, according to my mother. You know, so at any rate, I don't know where you're coming up with your numbers for how many spaces he should have, but on the river, what is it, 6? Yeah. And, you know, maybe 4 in the back, you know, along in the building. So, I mean, you definitely, how many spaces did you give to the preschool in that hearing?
wasn't it 2 spaces, employee parking?
It's one space per 300 square feet.
So how many employees? There were just 2.
There's 2 employees, but again, the employees don't matter. It's the square.
And it was just drop off.
Square footage, so you
basically.
need 12 spaces for the first floor. And then if you move your business down and that business is there, that's 12 spaces, based on your bylaw, which you can change.
Plus like I.
Yeah,
don't know,
I mean, you can
7 or
go
8
and change
for
that.
the 3rd
and
floor.
change, you know, whatever, but, so if you have, what is it gonna be? 9 tenants? 9 apartments?
Total of 9.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're looking at 21 spaces. I'm just curious how you're coming up with it.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely have some work to do, and I have some follow-ups here that we'll follow and get some numbers around it.
Yeah, but these parking spaces just don't magically appear.
No, correct. No, they don't. To get to what the total counts are now, based on our bylaws, and what the total area is.
You'd have to come up with, what, 12 reduction? Last time, what'd you have to say?
So, we.
Well, like you said, I'd like to know part of the public parking spots that we have down there now that we have the updated, just what are we accounting for, right? We've,
When we used to have tenants go in to try and get into the spaces, we had to have the correct number of spaces for the square footage for the tenant. It seems as you've gotten away from that.
We're trying to work with everybody downtown and become business
But
friendly.
at the same time, I know you said business friendly, and again, I have
wasn't a business-friendly town years ago. So, this board is to adopt,
So my-
you know,
But my point is, as we talk about with how many spaces are allotted to each business and residential in the area, how many we're pulling back and how many we have down there because we have to account for the number of public spaces for the number of spaces that are allotted for these areas to account for it all. So I want to get the numbers together.
Property had to have enough spaces to cover.
Correct. But we know that's not happening. We know that they,
And in fairness, the town meeting changed the bylaw. So
Correct.
the residents of Groveland decided that the parking situation in Elm Park needed to be modernized to match what other comparable towns and the cities around us are doing. The other thing I would add to that is you're not, we had this discussion last time, and I will counter what was said is, you're not giving away the spots. These are not people parking motorhomes or parking tractor trailers or parking, their 3 or 4 family vehicles. These are customers and employees. And residents, customers, employees are gonna park at different times in different spaces. These are spots that are meant to be used, moved, used again, moved, used again. It's a parking, the water department's a perfect example. No, people are not parking their cars for weeks at a time, or parking, I've never seen that parking lot half full. So we're not giving away spots, we're allowing the spirit of what the town has decided, which is to use the public parking that's available for businesses that are going, like I said, we have enough parking at the building for the residents and then some. We've received a special permit from you previously to add a good chunk of, and going back and forth with Town Planner Sullivan, almost all of the required, by the current bylaw, required commercial parking spaces. We're a little short, we're asking for a little more relief to get us to that point. But between doing a parking study, putting up delineating signs, working with our residential tenants and our employees, we've not created a parking or a traffic situation in downtown Groveland. We've had 4 months of operation with the new business with no appreciable effect on parking. And with the spots that you gave in the fall, the water department's no more or less full than it was in September. So I believe that the voters spoke rationally on this, and what they projected is coming to fruition. More life can come to downtown Groveland without it becoming a zoo of cars and parking. Your job is to keep that reasonable, but we have parking within 1,500 square feet in that area of Elm Park. What we don't have is people. There's vacancies in downtown Groveland. We need to fix that.
do you have a parking plan?
We filed it previously, yes. It's on file.
Do we have a?
Is that an
So under the special permit that was approved December 2nd of this past year, he provided a parking study, yes.
So do we do another parking plan with the additional parking spaces to see what that looks like for the board? That would almost be my recommendation. I mean, I want to see them thrive, but I also want to not screw something up. We still haven't accounted for snow storage or some, items that take place that you just don't anticipate.
So Brett, the parking plan just delineates how
John,
much
can you
parking-
just
Oh,
come,
sorry.
just so they can hear you?
So the parking study delineates how much parking I have in the building and on my property. That won't change if I do another one. I'll have the same exact amount of parking. So if I pay the engineer to come out and do the same thing, he's gonna have the same conclusion and draw the same drawing and just bill me $2,000 for his trouble. But the parking we have in the physical property is the parking that we have. That's not gonna change. What changed in the fall?
But did it change with a handicap ramp and
No.
deleting?
No, we did not delete any parking at all.
No, I would have figured you would have added.
So
without
no,
the loading zone.
we replaced the loading dock almost, we replaced the loading dock with the ramp, and actually the ramp is 2 or 3 feet skinnier than the loading dock was. So we actually made it easier to drive around the corner of the building. The loading dock stuck out a little further, so when you're making those turns, you had to sort of account for, say, 6 feet. Now I believe it's 38 inches or 42 inches of space. So we've actually reduced the footprint of the deck space by having the ramp and not, that's why we had to pay extra for hardy plank on the buildings. We could have had the ramp come out in a zigzag pattern and been, right there, and I could have put vinyl back on there. Instead, there's $5,000 worth of hardy plank on there because it has to have a fire barrier now because the ramp's against the building.
Cement board.
So we made it as close as we could to the building, and we actually reduced the footprint of the building. But no, the parking spaces that were there in December remain there today, no change. There's 4 delineated spaces, and then we 2 tandem spaces in the driveway.
But you still, I can't wrap my head around not seeing 7, unless you do, unless it's a single. I'm thinking worst-case scenario, it's couples for each bedroom.
Well, yeah, I mean, I look at it from a standpoint of, if you have a duplex and you have a shared driveway, you have to talk to each other, and that's, we have a group text of my tenants already. But yeah, if you're talking about, if you're parking in the driveway, or if somebody's in your way, which is gonna happen, we're in a driveway and parking lot, you talk to each other, and that's what neighbors do. But I'm in that, the other thing is, I'm in that building every single day. So I see it, I look at it, I watch it. We just did the giant construction project on the first floor. I'm glad that's over, but we didn't change the parking. I think we can sustain what we have.
I just want to make a clarification that the reason why the third floor didn't include those 6 other spaces is because the part that is considered the basketball court
the
or
stage, yeah,
the
the
stage
dance hall
area,
area.
it wasn't in use. And so that is the reason why we didn't require those additional spaces when we approved
Doesn't it-
the original site plan in December of
The original site
2025.
plan, but this now changes
So
the graphics of how many, of what you're gonna have for parking.
the bylaw requires 1 space per dwelling unit, and then with 1 or fewer bedrooms. And so if you have a 2-bedroom unit, it would require 2 spaces. And so originally this past winter in December, I believe the third floor was approved for 4 spaces. And so he's adding 4 units. One of the units is a 2-bedroom, so he just needs 1 more space.
Yeah, we don't occupy the stage room. We use it for storage, but again, I own the building, I store things in the unoccupied space.
Sure.
What do you guys think?
Well, is there anyone else in the public?
Yeah, no, you're good. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
So is the move, we close the
We can-
public discussion and
Yeah,
then we
we-
discuss amongst ourselves now?
Yep. That's, Paul, you good?
Yeah. what's
Closing,
the
closing public comment?
application?
I mean, we have nobody else, just to close public comment for now,
Yeah.
because we're done. We have nobody else, so.
Okay.
Entertain a motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. All right. Okay, so we're still, public hearing's still open. Now we can have our discussion, and if there are additional questions to Mr. Guilfoyle, we can do that as well. So the applicant is here for the 2 special permits. Have a bylaw, I didn't bring my bylaw book, but if we go through step by step on what this special permit, how it reads, and what, if it meets criteria, right, that's,
Are we, point of order,
Yeah.
are we just accepting the application, closing, or keeping the hearing open and continuing the hearing, or are you actually
We
planning to
will-
vote on this?
we can continue. My thought was some time, it's gonna take some time, we don't,
Oh, yeah.
just continue it,
Yeah.
the hearing.
I think we definitely should take time to look at the
Yeah,
parking. issue
yeah,
and
100%,
sort of
because I have
figure
some
out-
follow-ups with parking anyway, so we'll definitely continue. But we can start to look at the special permit application and
Well, is
make sure it
everything,
meets criteria.
did John check everything off, or what was submitted?
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Special permits in harmony with general permits and intent of this bylaw.
You were in the checklist on the application, right? Okay.
All right. So the determination shall include the consideration of each of the following, right? So this is kind of what we've talked about in the past, is making sure that when we review any special permits, that we meet the bylaw criteria, because that is the most important thing. So, number one, social, economic, and community needs, which are served by the proposal. That's where we just open it up, right? Is there anyone that has a concern for or against?
I
whether
do,
it meets?
I do take with some seriousness the concept of getting a building that's been pretty fallow to, that is kind of a flagship building of our downtown to be fully occupied. I think that matters. It's not the end of the story, but I think it's definitely a factor that should be considered. It's something that's consistent with the master plan. It's consistent with, any number of, positive things. I think empty buildings lead to problems and, full buildings lead to, people going to adjacent full, empty buildings, so, it is, I think it's an important factor to consider as we talk about this. I too am concerned about the parking issue and would want to make sure, one, that we're complying with our bylaws and, we're clear about what is necessary. We're clear about if we're giving a spot, quote unquote, that there is there's a place for that other person, hypothetical person to go. And if it's, if people just don't like going to the water building, because it's too far, that's different, than, well, that's not a feasible result, right? And I too drive by it all the time, and it's never crowded, so.
It's never even,
So that,
never even a third crowded.
So, I think about that, but also we want to make sure we mind our Ps and Qs and we're in compliance with our bylaws and, our rulings aren't just because we say so, but we can back up, with the current bylaw in town and, how within our discretion.
So, point of order again. Are we making a determination based on the application? Is that what you're doing? Because it's not necessary at this stage of the game. If you're going to continue the hearing, you can ask a lot of questions, but we don't need to make a determination for issuance of special permit. at
He's
this
going through
time.
the bylaw.
I'm just going through the bylaw.
Right, we're
to
just
discuss
talking.
whether it even, if we feel as though it does not meet the bylaw,
Yeah, but that's a determination.
That's a determination. I
Right,
agree.
so you don't need to do that at this stage. When it comes to vote, then approve or disapprove, then yeah. But if you're just accepting the application and John's run the checklist, then everything is here. Clearly, we need some more data. Is this going out for, some kind of site plan review? That's probably something that we can talk about. And then also, is this going out for engineering review of any type, whether it be based on the parking or anything else? I think
yeah,
that's-
I guess the easy answer is, easy question, is anyone opposed to accepting the application of a special permit?
I think there's value to going through these points and talking about this. It's not like these discussions just go into the ether and are useless, right? So while I agree that we're not making any final determination, like spinning our collective wheels about like sort of where we are and some of the things that we're looking for, I think that's time well spent.
I agree, but what I feel is
Okay.
Wally's saying is, until we accept the permit, the application.
Right.
There's no sense of reviewing whether we
Well,
want to determine or not.
accept the permit application.
Right.
Okay.
And then
we have
start.
the hearing, and then, but we're not voting on this thing tonight, so.
No, certainly not.
So then,
Right,
So
but, I
then-
mean, we've accepted the permit application because we're talking about the application, so we've accepted it. Now
you're trying to, I see what you're saying, trying to see if the application's complete, John checked it, we're gonna review it, but you don't need to do anything else with it, until we have more information, and then we have to make a.
When you say the checklist that John's, are you in
Yeah,
reference to
everything with the
to the
application.
bylaws?
Yeah, everything that is on there when you submit a special permit is everything here, is the permits, the dollars, the
But I
plans.
don't feel as though John is the say-so of whether, just if John feels that it meets all the criteria, 7 criteria, and John, no disrespect to you, obviously. But that's the board decision.
Oh, John.
It's the social economic, not
the
John to say,
determination.
yes, it meets it. It's
I agree. I say let's go through it, because you know what? We're gonna have to go through it at some
We're just
point.
talking about it, we're not-
And how much more data, he's already given us his parking, right? So unless he's building a parking garage,
I have a follow-up with John about the general area, and it's gonna take some time to put together on, because I also wanna be respectful to the current tenants as well as businesses that are in that area that use the public parking and how many lots we have. And I know we did the other parking study that showed how many lots we had. I'd like to see some numbers around that. Okay, we have X amount of businesses, they're allotted X amount of spots. How many of those are taken, right? How many are freed up? Just so we have, because as we go forward, and Mr. Guilfoyle has, 4 units, additional units here, then all of a sudden, if someone else wants to come in, or say for example, hypothetically, the West Newbury Learning Center chooses to leave after 5 years, and you want to make 2 more, and that's just using one elm. If someone else wants to go, there's the flooring place wants to turn that into it, we need to make sure we're accounting for all spots along in the area. So that's just my thought process.
agree.
on it.
And simultaneously, we're also setting precedent while we're doing this. So somebody, like, to your point, I think that's right. What about the next person that wants to do the same thing? You say, well, you've already allowed this, so we want to make sure that we don't get stuck to a point where we're down a slippery slope.
Well, each change of the business is gonna require another permit anyway, so.
Right.
So you're gonna review it again anyway. So, carry on.
Yeah, so, I mean, yes, so entertain a motion to, we already have the application,
Yeah,
but the board
The
to
application.
accept the application and review, and now we will go through the determination factors. So if that needs to be in the form of a motion to accept that application, I don't think it did.
Yeah,
but-
motion
don't think
to
it does.
Accept the complete application.
Yeah, so, motion made,
Second.
all those in favor?
All right,
Aye.
So moved. All right. So, now, back into social economic, and I'll just read these quickly. Social, economic, and community needs, which are served by the proposal, traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading, adequacy of utilities and other public services, neighborhood character and social structures, impacts on natural environment, potential fiscal impact, including the impact on town services, tax base, and employment, and then consistency with the Town of Groveland Community Development Plan and Town of Groveland Master Plan. Those are the 7 factors in determination of a special permit. Then we have here in the bylaw, the procedures, conditions, fees, and the lapse. So what we have kind of been doing in the past is, when we receive one of these, we look at the bylaw and we make sure that if the board feels as a whole, yay or nay. And because if it's, any of them are a nay, then we say it's not approved.
It's a hard stop, right?
It's, special permit can't be approved at this time. So that's how if someone disagrees or feels differently, feel free.
sounds like it checks all the bylaw boxes except the question about parking.
Yeah. And I think the way that the application has been presented has been to address these kind of in turn. Like we heard talk about the increased load of the utilities and, keeping the facade similar without really changing things, while still modernizing and all that sort of stuff. So I think a lot of the sort of presentation of this has been in line with trying to hit those boxes. I think we all, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think the big concern is about parking and making sure that, we're happy with what is given and what is taken and what would come next if there is a next. And so, making sure what we decide jives with what we're allowed to do, 1, and 2, what is right to do, under our discretion. So I think that's the thing we need to kind of figure between now and next meeting, the parking issue.
Does anyone, hold on one second, yep. Does anyone else have any other reservations about
The
the
other-
bylaw, any of the other bylaw considerations besides just the parking?
No,
Is
but
there-
BJ,
Is there anything else that stands out that says, hey, I don't think this meets this criteria?
how do you propose about policing the parking?
It's not our job.
Correct. No. What do you propose to make sure the parking is going to work? Let me rephrase. Better.
As a whole in the entire downtown, not talking.
Adding-
You're not talking the one building.
Well, you
You're
have to
talking-
add the one building.
But
Yeah,
how do we-
everything including, yeah.
Everything
Everything
including
including.
plus adding additional
How do we police
space
it?
or spaces.
That's,
What's your proposal?
to police, I don't think.
Not to
there-
police, I rephrased. To make sure that it's going to work for the town and it's going to work for the applicant.
I mean, the way I would look at it is that twofold. One, I think we know the type of project that we're looking at for the application, right? It's not a Walmart. We're talking about 0.77 parking spaces. And then two, we're all residents of town and we frequent that part of town, at least I do. I'll say conservatively every other day, but probably more frequently than that. And I know this is not new for you. You guys know my stance. I do not believe there's a parking problem in Elm Park. But I've been to the restaurant a few times, the dead of winter and on weekends and after winter. I've found a parking spot right out front every time. Every time I drive past the water lot, it is mostly empty except for maybe one car and a couple buses, that sit and park there sometimes. Like, plenty of parking.
John, one of the things that we talked about was that the last time we evaluated parking like how it fits vis-à-vis the bylaws and stuff, the dance hall area wasn't included in the calculations. Correct. And so now so presumably now we have to include that area. And so, maybe the gentleman who was speaking earlier has some veracity about, wait, it's not one spot you're asking for, it's 4 or 5 or 6.
So
No, it's not 7.
Well,
I'm sorry,
hold on, we'll let him, you'll get a
Yeah,
chance.
and then Don had a comment before that too. Yeah.
Well, John first.
Yeah.
You got to go to the microphone.
John, just take the microphone, please. Yeah. Thank you.
You know, I know one of the things you just started to mention was safety, okay? And you're saying you don't see a safety issue. Well, there is one. When they move the parking lot out into the middle of the road, when people come off the Main Street side, when they get the light to come across, if you're walking in between the cars or trying to get out there, they should take away that mural and move the parking back in against the sidewalk, because it's really dangerous. The people at Sweet Paws are complaining all the time about it. You know, when they have their drop-offs and people come to get their dogs and everything else, I've seen it, it's pretty close, you know.
Why can't you just park on the mural?
That's where they should have never put the mural there. They got a grant and they decided, oh, this is a great idea. Well, it isn't. You know, now you're,
All right.
It slowed the cars down coming from off the bridge down onto Main Street. That
Why,
was
do they
the
stop
purpose
and
of
look at the
making
mural?
but it didn't slow them down coming across.
Much narrower. Now when they come across, it's not this wide open space. So like normal people, when they were in a wide open space, they tend to go a lot faster. So now it's a real tight space, so they slow down. And that was the purpose of spacing that out. And that's what they did.
Well, hold on.
I'll wait.
Hang on one sec,
Yeah, I'm
because
gonna take
I had a very narrow question and I wanted to get an answer before we opened up some
I
other
think that's
stuff.
fair.
I am very intent on understanding what's going on, and I want everyone to speak, and I want to hear everything, because I want to know better too. But first,
yeah,
my narrow question.
So what I was saying is, general business requires more parking, so it's one space per 300 square feet. Whereas if it's a dwelling unit, it's one space per one bedroom,
So
essentially.
is this really an ask for 4.77 spaces, or is this really an ask for like 4 or 5 spaces?
This is an ask for one additional space.
Even now that we're considering
The
dance
entire
space
third
and-
floor.
and whatnot.
Yep.
According to one bedroom per one car. But a couple goes in, they both have cars.
Well, can't you limit it by leases?
What do you do with a
We
car?
certainly do, yeah. And in fact, right now, we have a tenant that has no car. So it does, you're right, Mr. Lucas, it fluctuates, and it certainly can, and there's no way to predict the exact number of vehicles that will be there. But the application that I submitted was intended to meet the Town of Groveland bylaw. None of us can account for the future. I agree with Don. I don't like the mural. I never like, I mean, it's art, I'm not gonna be an art judge. But we have 2 parking spaces on Main Street in front of my building. You can have at least 5 if you had diagonal parking along that, where that mural is now.
That would slow down
So
the
if we're
traffic.
talking, and that would slow down parking too, because if you see a car or 18, 19-foot pickup truck parked in one of those spots, you've got to maneuver that. Where you see straight cars, you might think that's a car that's still going on the road. Now, I don't see people taking that corner on two wheels. I'm looking down at that every day. I park along the river most days. I'm crossing that road every single day. So it's not the, Indy 500 going down Elm Park. But if you wanted to really look at long-term, and we're not going to solve this today or next week. I hope it doesn't take that long, but if you want to solve that long-term, the mural should be taken out, and you should put diagonal spaces all the way to Sweet Paws. And you can probably take that 1, 2, what do you have, 2 or 3 in front of Sweet Paws? That could become 10. And now, instead of parking in the mural for drop-off, just parking in a diagonal spot. And there's no car zooming past them either way. So I think there's something to look at long-term. But what we've submitted is, we received parking relief to allow the existing third-floor office, which is the Banner Factory side, the Unit 1A, Unit 1B, and the one space for Unit 1C, the ADA, ADU. We have that parking. As far as we're concerned, and in consultation with the town planner, the permit that we have covers all parking in the building except the stage room. We would need 4 or 5, depending on how if you count like the bathrooms, we need 4 or 5 spaces commercially to put that space online as official rented space. We will need 3 plus the 2 for the additional apartment
Will you be putting that online?
as apartments. Yeah, the plan is that it will not be commercial. And it's my strong contention that the commercial life of the third floor of that building is over, and they will never return. It's in a building that could never have an elevator, that you have to walk by existing apartments to get to. It's not desirable. I'm the only business that's opened in there as the owner since 1995. There's no commercial interest in that third floor space. It will remain vacant if it's not turned into residential, in my opinion. And the residential will require less parking net versus turning it all into commercial. Right now, it's half commercial, half dead. If it's all commercial, it will be more parking than if it was all residential.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
Jason, you got anything?
Guess who's gonna take the
Well,
Has anybody petitioned or gotten a response from Groveland PD on if the accidents, incidents, parking problems, overnight parking, cars towed?
There's more parking problems over by Nicole's than there is downtown. Or there's more accidents.
Well, there's your answer. So if we can get that, just ask them for input on any kind of parking issues in the town area. Where is it? Where are they? Are there bottlenecks?
You can ask the
Certain
chief.
times.
I take that as an action item to talk to the chief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
That's a
just
good-
have them submit something for the record.
Yeah.
We have one accident a week. We have none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there
And
is now an appreciable time frame that it's been in this condition, so
Yeah.
I think that's a very smart idea.
Yeah, and the mural's been there for a bit now, so.
True.
Almost 5 years, right?
anything else?
Yeah, I like the idea on the diagonal parking.
I agree.
No, I agree.
I agree with that one.
That's something to think about for the
That's
future.
something to think about. Highway?
How long does the grant mural have to last?
Put an idea in the town planner's head there.
Sorry, John?
That's what I was thinking.
Get input from highway and see what that would sketch out to be and what would be the net gain.
Does that have to go to a town meeting to vote on?
Well, highway department should be able to do that.
All right, so
Failing work.
as far as the special permit for the reduction in parking, entertain a motion to continue until next meeting, which is going to be,
June 10th.
June 10th.
did you say June 10th? Yeah,
Second.
the 10th, the Wednesday?
The third's the first Wednesday.
Yeah, June 10th is a Wednesday.
But in that motion,
Oh, June 10th is a
Wait.
Wednesday.
Yeah, June 3rd's the first Monday.
Can I ask
First
a
Wednesday.
question of the planner before you make that decision? Is that okay? I have a hearing tomorrow with the ZBA for the project. Obviously, the project is moot. If there's no parking, or I'd have to reduce it by a bedroom if it's not approved. Does continuing the hearing on the parking at all affect my ability to go forward tomorrow?
No. No, you can go- It's still a live application, no decision.
Good enough, okay.
We'll,
June 9th,
we do
because we do
first,
Tuesdays?
we do first and third, why wouldn't it be June, why is it not June 2nd?
Yeah, worst case, we could table it tomorrow, yeah. Continue it rather.
It's already an agenda, you gotta, might as well just leave it for tomorrow.
Yeah, so his question was, does the ZBA's decision on his special permit request to extend a non-conforming use impact your guys' decision, or your guys' vice versa? So,
I would say no, Chris, right?
I mean, I would say no, we can still hear the application.
You can hear the
And,
application,
Again,
grant it,
worst
and
case,
it
we
doesn't-
can continue it, contingent
You
on.
can still grant it as long as the,
Contingent.
planning board.
Contingent upon,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's good, thank you.
sorry, I messed up the dates.
Okay, so the June 2nd?
Yes.
Okay.
Third.
No, we meet on Tuesday. I'm like, where are the Wednesdays coming?
Does that give, enough time for the selectmen
Prince
to,
Spaghetti?
Sorry, that's
talk about maybe adding some more spaces?
Ah, that makes
downtown
that's Rebecca's fault.
All right,
in the mural?
it's all her fault. All right, so, next meeting is June 2nd, so we will entertain a motion to continue the special permit for the reduction in parking for One Elm Park until June 2nd meeting.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And in the meantime, I asked Jason if he can ask about parking on the mural, diagonal parking.
Okay.
And then also, any materials, John, that you can provide for us relative to parking even as it stands, to give us some insight as far as what our limits of authority are, good or for bad?
Yeah, and I can also provide more detail about like who has taken advantage of the bylaw with the
Yeah.
reduction in parking and stuff like that as well. For
That would be super helpful, because
the
it's the
next
downtown area, and
Yeah.
I would imagine more people will ask for it, whether we grant or not in this situation.
How many cars overnight in the water department lot?
Overnight?
Yeah,
One I've ever seen.
3.
right, so.
Random,
If you put
yeah.
in a residence there, and you had a two-bedroom, and you got 2 cars, okay, typically they're home at night, right?
Yeah, so obviously, Groveland is a different dynamic than any type of city. But if you rent an apartment anywhere in the city, or you're in a downtown area, you know going in, if whoever the leasee is going to say, there is restricted parking, you have one space, you need to figure out public parking from there. It's
If you-
part of.
If you have spaces. yeah.
If you have the space, if you
At all,
don't,
right, you
some
might-
some people have apartments that don't have any spaces at all,
Yeah.
and go figure it out. It doesn't come with
Yeah, but
anything.
If it's, you can put the restriction in the special permit that apartment number 1 or 2 therefore shall park in the public municipal lot in the overnights between the hours of X and Z. I mean, it's pretty simple, but it's.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a restriction that you just
They
throw
come
it in the
minus
permit.
5 degrees, nobody's gonna wanna park there or run home.
But-
I lived in
but-
Brighton for 3 years, I know what it's like.
Not everyone has had that experience
At the
in
end of the day,
Groveland.
that's John's problem of no one.
The only
right,
concern
yeah.
we really have to factor in is the fact of the reduction of the one space, right? That's what we need to focus on, and the rest of it of where they're going to park, bylaw states that they have to have one per. It's really the reduction is the less than one space for the entire building itself.
Well, that's the waiver request, but the special permit, this is a general rule, okay, is a special permit. If you want the building turned green, it goes in the special permit, and thou shalt turn it green. It's that simple. So this is really a big deal.
No.
And if it turns out to be that, you got a 2-bedroom place and one vehicle can't be there, well, that goes in the special permit. And then the person that moves in there gets issued it and says, you gotta park over there. So, pretty simple stuff on that. And special permit is, it's the most thorough, it's the longest in Massachusetts. Okay, and it can have anything in it that's necessary within reason, so.
Agreed. And I think only to Don's point was, as we continue to get these applications and we say, okay, we have public parking and we have 135 total spaces of public parking, but
Right.
yet
That's the idea.
we have
Really good idea.
we have the restaurant, we have the salon, we have all these, okay, yep, here's overflow. Well, we need to get some numbers around it, because eventually the overflow, we can't assign parking spots to
Right.
locations, and then all of a sudden run out of. And we know that the timing, like Mr. Guilfoyle had said, that there are different hours of different businesses, so you have a constant change. And right now, we have all seen public parking areas are open. We're not overloaded right now, but we need to be able to account for that too.
Right,
As a
that's
planning
cool.
board, that's our job.
Business did work. There was a hardware store, wasn't there, Don? Hardware store, a diner, or what else was down there?
The hairdressers, the one on the left-hand side of you facing, so it would be 9 Elm Park.
Groveland
The
Hardware.
hardware store was there, and then they had a garage out back. And then Mrs. Chandler had a gift shop on the right-hand side. And she lived across the street just after John Val's.
King Street, there was
We
a
need the
general
gas station
store.
back.
The realtor.
We just need the gas station to go, to be, just have that. But-
There was, Getty.
All right, moving on. There is another application as well, correct? Okay, let's bring that one up for another special permit. John, is this, yeah,
Make a little more request out of Ron, if I may. Could you also include what the actual parking is available on Elm Street? I know that Mr. Grandy said there was no parking, but according to the bylaw, I believe it states from Gardner Street north, there's no parking, and from Main Street 200 feet southerly, there's no parking, but everywhere in between, there is parking.
It's a two-way street on the backside.
So
There may be-
Parked cars, you can't go two
I-
ways. It's kind of obvious.
Yeah,
Jason, that was gonna be, that's part of, I'm gonna have, so what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna send up an email, first with the board, and ask for any follow-up questions that you will have to submit to John, and then I will submit them to you to find out that, and that is one of them, to see what is available for parking that's there, location-wise. I did not know until last year that, I did not know that you could not park in front of Jerry's. That is a state route. That is not, that, people park there. Yeah, and now, I was like, okay, I didn't realize you can't just stop, run in, and
Yeah, you gotta
that's
go around
legally,
back.
you gotta go around back, so. That's one of my follow-ups. All right. Everyone good there?
Yes.
Next application is the special permit. This is for affordable housing under the 50-10.1 of the zoning bylaw. Okay.
So, point of order, are we gonna talk about it the same way we did the other
Yep.
piece?
Well, yeah, we can, we'll let the applicant speak to it first.
So,
and
open the meeting?
It's still part of the,
Still,
we're still,
right.
yeah, we're still. yep.
Okay.
So this should be, I think, a little quicker. Subject to the approval of the zoning board of appeals for the extension of an existing non-conforming use, residential, to convert the third floor of One Elm Park to residential from commercial in the business district. So again, subject to that ZBA approval, we would be entering one of, based on the bylaw and the law, we would be entering one of the net apartments into affordable housing in the town of Groveland. At this point, we have not determined, we don't need to make that decision now, if we're going to pay into the trust or if we're going to deed restrict a unit. But what we're coming to you is saying that, subject to the approval tomorrow and then subsequent days from the ZBA to go forward with this project, that we would enter into the affordable housing trust process. So this is a requirement. The town planner pointed out when we started this process, and we're here today to let you know that we do intend, as we go forward with this project, to add 4 apartments to this building, to either contribute or deed restrict one of the units for affordable housing in the town of Groveland. I don't think there's anything else I have to ask for.
Did we mark on affordable units?
Do we need the mark?
Do we already meet
Typically,
the
people donate,
requirement?
No,
Sorry?
we don't need it.
usually a donation.
I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I think we're over our threshold now.
Because of the
Until-
work.
Right.
The
until-
que-
at least until the next.
Yeah, the question that comes up is there's not a lot of affordable rental development in Groveland.
Right.
So the bylaw is written for affordable houses, so you're building a subdivision. The bylaw is written for subdivisions, it's not written for a couple of apartments. So I'm working with a licensed realtor right now to do a study on one-bedroom equivalent sales. That will help us determine if we're going to be paying in based on what that number comes out to, or if we're going to deed restrict a unit. Absent a study from a realtor, we are looking at an $80,000 contribution. But again, that's the same contribution you'd make if I was building 9 houses in the town of Groveland versus 4 one-bedroom, or 3 one-bedroom, 1 two-bedroom apartments. So we're going to look at the numbers.
That's some good math.
That's math. They said there'd be no math. But that is what we're going to go into. We're going to make the decision at permit time, assuming we get to file for a permit, which would be great for me, if we're going to pay in or deed restrict. But we're entering into that process with you today.
That
You've-
should be-
you've
that should
used
be your
the-
application.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
That should be the application that you're applying for is not a waiver, but you should be applying for what is it that you wish to do? And if it is a waiver for, X amount of dollars based upon that, we can figure out what a reduction would be based upon the square footage, because typically a house is much larger than an apartment. Okay? and
Well, I
then-
don't think he's looking for a waiver, right?
Yeah.
He's
Well,
just-
it's an either or, because
Well, I
that's what
think-
you're
Well, I
gonna
think
do.
the application is just for him to include.
One unit.
One unit as low.
Right, so you're gonna include one unit, or you're gonna.
Or pay in,
But how
yeah.
much you're gonna
Right.
pay in is not gonna be 80,000, because that's based on an entire house, so that's the waiver.
Correct. Yeah, so so we're going through the process now. The good thing is, in talking to the town planner, Mr. Sullivan, we don't need to make the decision at this juncture, only when we go for the building permit. But we are entering the process. This is the first step in that. If the ZBA rules against the project, that obviously will become a moot point, and we'll withdraw at that time. But for now, we're looking to go forward with the affordable housing as an either-or. There is no waiver. For developing housing in Groveland, we are going to either contribute money or deed restrict a unit. There's no out for that.
Don't be, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, sorry.
confuse you on that. I think what you're saying is that this will be like, almost like a prototype, okay, where we're doing an apartment type of number versus a home. Because anytime you're right, you go over that, and if you're building a house, it's 80,000, and it drops into the fund, and the whole plan for the affordable housing bylaw was to get enough donations to actually build apartments somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what that fund is for. But where we're coming in on, like I said, a prototype, where we haven't had an apartment at this point in time, okay, you're gonna be building those, and then you're just gonna happen to fall into the affordable housing bylaw. And what I talked about was a waiver is it's a reduction. It's not gonna be $80,000, because that's for an entire the square footage is way off.
Yeah.
For a home versus an apartment, so it's gonna be based on that. And I don't know what that number is, and I don't know how to arrive to that conclusion. Okay, but that, like you said, that's something that we can do later.
Yeah.
But you can decide at the moment to just, we're gonna pay the fee, and we know it's gonna be less than 80, but we don't know what it is, and determine it later.
Yes, sir.
But that's a
John,
pretty
did you
simple one, where you don't have to go through a lot of extra hoops. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so based on research, it essentially like the fee would be the median sell price of a comparable market rate one-bedroom unit in the Lawrence area, minus the sale price of a comparable affordable unit.
Yeah.
And then you take 50% of that difference, and if that fee is less than 80K, that's what you would pay.
Right. Do we have a clue where that dart
That-
is on the board?
That's what the
That is
appraisal.
that is on me.
That's the plan? Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to work with some realtors that are local to the area, get some numbers. They'll give me a report, which I'll submit to John, which you have to review, obviously. I'm just going to sign my name on the $1 line there, but no, we'll give you a legitimate report from a professional. It actually requires a professional to do the report in the first place. That will go to you. That will be reviewed, and that will be the number I pay. If that number comes out prohibitively high, we would then look at deed restricting a unit and doing the marketing plan for the affordable housing
Has
lottery.
the town assessor been monitoring that, by chance, since that's their bailing work?
No, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, this goes to there, and then they approve it, and then.
point of order, so clarification for me. In this discussion, you've used the phrase apartments. Do we mean condos?
No, we mean apartments.
So you're gonna continue to manage what happens with these
The,
units?
the name of the company that owns the building is FKG Properties. My daughter's names are Fiona and Kira. When I bought this building from Mr. Stark, I bought and sold property prior to COVID, during COVID. I made a lot of my ability to buy real estate from buying and selling. I bought a lot of 1980s offices that were in 1980s conditions.
Sure.
Made them look 2000s, 2020s conditions. I made money that way.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to save up enough money to buy, my goal has always been to own a building that my company does not have to pay rent. I was renting in North Andover in a spot that's smaller than where I am now for $4,000 a month, triple net. The mortgage on the building is $8,000 a month right now. So my goal has been to have a place for my company and to hold it as a investment, future retirement or wealth building income vehicle. I plan on giving the building to my daughters. That's my intention.
As a fellow business owner who does not pay rent because he works from his home, I understand exactly what you're saying.
I began my business at 8 Prospect Street in Georgetown for an $80,000 building that the mortgage was $445 a month on. So I've come to appreciate that possibility, Patrick.
Sure.
So, I get, because we're pending, we can just continue this.
Yeah.
So entertain a motion to continue the special permit application of the affordable housing for One Elm Park.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Second.
Second.
Oh, second, sorry. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you in a couple weeks. Thank you both. Thank you
Appreciate
both.
it.
Okay. There you go.
Minutes.
Minutes?
Minutes.
All right. Approval of April 6th, 2026 meeting minutes.
So
You
moved.
guys have all
They were lovely.
read those?
Yeah,
I've done.
Up
Thank
to
you.
give you a second.
Second.
Second, to approve the minutes, meeting
someone make a
minutes
first?
that are right here.
I did.
Yeah, Wally made it first.
Wally did. Yeah. All those in favor to accept the
Aye.
minutes?
Aye.
Aye, so moved.
Excellent.
All right. Moving right along.
We have a town plan.
Town planner update.
Yeah, so the only thing I have for you guys tonight is I received an inquiry from Max Guerrero, owner of 1 Washington Street, the liquor store at the corner there. He is interested in converting the attic of that building into a caretaker's unit. And so I haven't received any special permit requests yet, but I just wanted to put that on your radar because it might show up for June's meeting, so.
Okay, thank you. And correspondence. Patrick, it's for you. It's for all of us, but it's
Hey, listen, I mean,
you.
this
The follow-up
is
persistent.
This is the me and Wally issue where we both see very much eye to eye on it. And
Closed down.
closing out old business. So I saw both closeouts. Thank you so much. There may be a third one.
Yeah.
There may be a third one that,
For Katie Lane, yeah.
yeah. So we'll put it on for next time. We'll get that last one and then we'll be happy. And again, you know, moving forward, these are coming on all the projects, so this is
Right.
good for everyone.
And this is
It's
the
good.
template.
Yeah,
I like it.
perfect.
Nice
Yes,
template.
we love it. That's
Thank you.
that's
Thank
good
you,
minds
John.
put together.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate your efforts.
All right. Any other items not reasonably anticipated at the time of posting? Wally?
Nope.
Nothing here.
I have none.
I got nothing.
Mr. Cool?
He had a beach
Look at
or
you ready to go to
something,
Hawaii.
You win one election,
Dark glasses.
and all of a
wine
sudden,
shirt.
it's just easy breezy, isn't it?
It's a state of mind, Wally. State of
I
mind.
see that. He's like way too relaxed for this meeting.
That's awesome. John, did you have anything?
I have nothing, no.
All right. All right. Next meeting, we have confirmed it is Tuesday, June 2nd.
Wednesday, right?
Not Wednesday, Tuesday, June 2nd. Hopefully we're in here. And with that, I think we are good to adjourn. Anyone want to make a
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn the meeting at 8:08. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you, Groveland. Good night.
Good night, everybody.